online. We've got a few people in person. The handouts are over there if you didn't get one. And online, I'll be taking you to this slideshow. Hopefully you can see, whoops. Oh, we're way off on pages here. Okay, we're just going to go back just to say what we're doing here. We have some new agents and we have some experienced agents in the room. That's what we'll call you guys. How's that?
Not old.
Not old. No. Experienced. Yeah, experienced here, folks. So what I've put together is the first few pages of the Achieving Greater Success Faster. Just got a whole lot easier. It's the one-on-one 90 Days to Success. This pamphlet has been being used by our Scottsdale and North Scottsdale offices. Mandy had a slimmed down version of this, and so I'm trying to edit it to get some of her unique elements that she had in hers added to this one. It's still not all where I want it, but we're getting there. 2 weeks ago, we went through a couple of these. Let's see. We kind of went through this, my commitment as a new licensee to try and attend certain things and step up and do some training. So for those experienced agents, I highly recommend going back to this page later. I'm not going to spend time on it, but if you're not familiar with what is available to you in 1U, on One University, there are different areas where you can go. And if you're an experienced agent and don't want to do the new to the industry, there is a whole separate section on One University that shows you other information in terms of how to elevate your business to the next level. So, or if you think you just need to really step back and go, you know, what areas have I not been doing regularly in my business? What can I do to get back on track? Come back to the basics and check out some of this and see that do you have a new headshot? I mean, silly things like that, right? What is your marketing? What is your website? What is your social media? Go back over and look at that. I know it says, you know, meet with your mentor monthly for a 30-minute strategy session. If any of you experienced agents want to set up a meeting with me, please give me a call. Let's sit down, see where you are and see what I can do to help you work on your business. So, all right. This is a friendly reminder for folks. Just if you have not been checking your passwords out, you know, make sure you've got access to that. You're using different technology, get a new phone. You're going to need to reset all of these. So make sure you know where you've got all that information. 2 weeks ago, we started this and we got to the top of this page, and that was as far as we got. So for those that don't recall, we got stuck on showing time. I know I've got some people online, but if you have not used showing time as a listing agent, you need to go in and reset your protocols in showing time on how showing time works for you as a listing agent. As a showing agent, if you've been annoyed by all those auto calls when you set up things on showing time and all of a sudden you get the phone call that says your listing at such and 123 East Main Street has been confirmed, and you don't like that, go in and reset your settings. It's very easy. You just take off the phone mode. Just get rid of it because it's an electronic phone call and it drives me nuts. I don't know about you. I like that. I get why they did that, but boy, it is annoying. All right. So I probably actually need to go away. Whoops. From this mode and go into, well, let's see. We're going to open up my one login here so we can show you transaction desk. Let's see if we can get in here and do this. Actually, it's not going to be in there, but we will go here and do oops. So for some reason, it's pr.transaction desk. I never figured out what the P was for, but if you memorize that, you can open up PR transaction desk. Now, for all of you that don't know, when you become a broker, they give you everybody's listing. So My thing looks a little different. This transaction desk, this just should show my old files. So one of the things, I know a lot of people are using SkySlope forms. I'll go there in a minute. But this is through AAR Online. And if you have not set up transaction desk through AAR Online, you don't have to. But you do have free transaction desk and Authentisign, or you can use SkySlope forms, which have DigiSign. So you get an electronic signature either way. I'm familiar with Transaction Desk because it was around before SkySlope Forms, and I've gotten to know SkySlope Forms a little bit. But one thing I want to show you on this, and I don't know, let's see, let's go in this way, and I think I created a sample docs form. So let's just go in here because people keep calling me and I have to pull up a form real quickly. So that was the fastest way for me to do it. But what I want to do is over on the side here, let's see if I can, well, not get rid of that. That's fine. So one of the things I want to show you, if you are doing a new file, this has come up repeatedly, and I'm going to show you how do I create a contact. So if I'm adding a contact, this is just going to be in my way every time I do this, isn't it?
Scroll up.
We'll just do that. Okay. So if I'm creating a contact, let's see if I can get, it's not giving me anything else. So it's just giving me over here. Look, it's got William Hampton in there. Hampshire, I didn't even spell that right. Okay. So I want to create a new contact. I'm going to go add a new transaction contact. What is important about this is if this is a buyer, but they are a company, you can actually, everything is in my way, isn't that funny? See here where it says legal name. So this should probably be how somebody is signing, and we're just going to use John Smith here just to know that it's not somebody that I'm working with. John Smith at gmail.com. Okay, but let's say the legal name is going to be,
Jonathan.
well, no, but John Smith Trust.
Oh,
Dated 6/1, oops, 6/1/2010. Okay, so the legal name here can be John Smith Trust, dated 6/1/2010, but the signature is going to be John Smith, trustee. On your initials, you can still use JS. You don't have to put anything else. We're not going to add them to my book just so I don't have to keep that. But then you go back up here and save this. So this has come up in the last week 4 different times on contracts from agents in our office. So when your entity is either a trust or an LLC or some type of corporation, when you use these e-sign programs, you have to change what the stamp is going to read, because the stamp cannot read a business entity, because a business entity can't sign something. Never seen that company go and stamps the stuff. They can't do that, right? But you also don't want the individual signing, because then they're not signing on behalf of that entity. I am in conversation with our compliance desk, because our compliance desk has been giving information to have that it can't be the entity signing. But they didn't go far enough in explaining, either go get legal counsel or find out how it's supposed to be signed. Anytime you're using an LLC or a trust, they should be providing you with, at the very least, the first page of the trust document or the articles of incorporation, it's usually a page or two that actually establishes that that is the entity. Then there's a paragraph someplace that says who can sign on behalf of encumbering, selling, or disposing of real property, right? There are other paragraphs that deal with other things, but the paragraph you want is who has the right in that agreement to sign and be able to deal with real property, not personal property, but real property. So usually you want to see that paragraph, and then you need to see the end that actually shows that it was signed and executed and the date that it was executed. And if there was an amendment to that, what that says. Usually there's another paragraph inside that says who can sign. And in the paragraph where it says who can sign, it usually will instruct on how they can sign. Someplace in that document, really, it will tell them how they need to sign, whether it is as trustee, as personal representative, as attorney, in fact. So there are all sorts of different ways, manager or member if it's an LLC, right? So there are different ways you would sign these documents, not you, but your clients. But in order to prepare these documents using either Transaction Desk or SkySlope Forms, you need to know who is signing and how are they signing. And on an LLC, does one person have the right to sign for that property, or is it in fact two people? Right. So we'll get into that later. That's a whole other thing that I'm having issues with, that everybody seems to want to add buyers at the last, literally the last hour. But so this is Transaction Desk. This is a great program. You have access to all of the forms. Good morning. You have access to all the forms. Oh, we got another title person here. They're having fun. They're going to laugh at me on the documents in terms of how we sign documents. So no, you won't laugh
We
at
have
me.
the same frustration.
Yes, they do.
That's only realize that.
So I don't know if you guys can see these, because online it's not showing very well.
Can you shrink the view to?
I was trying to, and it won't. Let's see. Is there a way to change? There we go. All right, we'll make that a little smaller for you guys at home and here. So we can see when you click on forms. Now, this is sample docs. So I've put a whole bunch of documents in here. But if something you needed is not here, you simply go to add, and it's going to take us back to that screen we saw at the very beginning. Now, because people in our office also have access to the Southeast Association of Sedona, I do have that on mine. But most of us will just have Arizona Association of Realtors and Arizona Regional MLS services. For those that don't know, this one, the AR MLS, is going to have your listing documents. Funny thing, because that's who handles our listing materials, because they are the multiple listing service. So that's where those documents are. These all are either the input forms, sold change form, listing contract addendum. For those that do not know, if you make a change to your either ER or EA agreements, you use a listing contract addendum. Does anybody in this room know why we use the listing contract addendum instead of the regular addendum in the forms section?
Refers to the listing and not the contract.
Who is a party to the listing? The seller or owner, and who else?
Listing.
The broker.
The broker. So if you open up the listing contract addendum, if it'll let me open it. If it'll let me open it here. It won't. I'll go back and open that in just a second. So you can add these things. Well, maybe I'll make sure that I've got it in my thing and I'll open it. So you just click add and it comes in over here, and then you can scroll down here. It'll be at the bottom. And so now I can open that. So you'll see that a listing contract addendum is between the owner, not the seller, but the owner and the broker. and you have the premise address. So when you're making a change to the ER or EA, if you're using exclusive agency, and before you use that, please come talk to me to make sure you understand what you're doing. But most people use the ER. The owner and the broker are the parties to that. That's why we don't use a regular addendum, right? Because if I went to the regular addendum, it is going to look like this. Let's see if we have one in here. Of course, I don't have a regular addendum. Why would I do that? So all you do is add. We're going to go to, it wasn't even in the listing side, right? That gives you a clue, but we'll add the addendum. And you'll see now that, fortunately, these are not in alphabetical order because I added them this way. But if you open up the addendum, you'll see an addendum is between the buyer and the seller. And by the way, you can see that this is showing the buyer as that trust. Remember, I put that in there and that's where it went there. But if I go down here for the signature block, when I go into Authentisign, we can change and make sure that it is John Smith, trustee. Okay.
New treasurer's here.
Hey, look at that. Craig's disappearing. Okay. Good. So let's just real quickly, I'm going to dummy a little more information in here to show you how Authentisign works. You do have a wizard, very useful in going through. And for those that don't know, when you are in ARMLS and you are on a document in ARMLS, you can go directly from there and pull up. So here, let me just show this to you. Somebody have a listing? Huh?
Rental.
No, because I don't have any of my rental forms up there. It's okay. We'll find a listing. We'll just grab some listing here.
I have a land too.
You need a real listing?
Yeah.
No, I don't have one.
No, I need a
Residential.
I need a residential. It's fine. We'll do a quick search right here in 85028 and we'll find something. Sorry online if you're talking to me because I cannot see I don't have the ability to see. Why does that say Mesa? I don't know why it says Mesa there. We're not in Mesa. It is right here, but I don't know why it says Mesa there. That's very funny. Okay, let's just pull this up. So if we are in at this listing and we open the listing, why is it not open? Let's do that. So if we're in this listing and you have transaction desk already open, one of the things you can do right here, excuse me, is go right to transaction desk and it will automatically load or not load.
Sort of automatic.
It should have already pulled that up because I already had it open in the tab, but that's okay. At least my info was there. Oh no. Well, it's supposed to automatically take you in there. That is not what we wanted to do. Hold on. I don't know why it did not do that.
Did you put the MLS number?
Yeah, I was trying to show that it does usually just go right in, but we'll see whether this will do it. Because I wanted it to pull directly over and it did not. Well, so much for that working. Let's try it again. There we go. That's what it's supposed to do. Make sure you've already opened your transaction desk in your system, but then it pulls this in. You'll see it automatically put the address as the name of this file. You can change that. If you have ever created your documents, templates, it makes it much easier. You can use these templates and do that. And in this case, we're going to just pretend it's a buyer. We're going to be working with Rock Title. You can already put your Rock Title agents in there. I don't know if I've updated. Okay, so it's going to give you the data it's importing. See here where it says import the data and then use the wizard, and it takes you right here and walks you through literally everything you need to create this. This is how some agents say they can do a contract in about 10 minutes. If you have your templates set up, you go through one of these automated systems where it's already pushing this out. When we go in and put in our client's data, and I'm just going to dummy up this data here, right? But let's see. So at first, what it's going to ask for is the property information, right? And it's already pulled in the year it was built. Look, it's got 1972, which is important. We need to know that because of the lead-based paint. It's going to drop in the assessor number. It's dropping in the full address, including the subdivision and legal description.
Always double check the legal description.
Well, this is what's, yes, you should double check it for Monsoon, but this is what the agent put in, correct?
Yeah.
Well, and it's very funny. I don't know if you guys have noticed in Monsoon, and we haven't looked at curb view yet, but in Monsoon, for whatever reason, the abbreviated is the longer one and the legal description is the shorter one. I never quite understood.
And
Somebody's,
it doesn't always pull the same one. Sometimes it pulls the abbreviated, sometimes it doesn't.
so always look for the longer one when you're looking for the
Keeping you on
legal
your toes.
description. And it should actually start with that lot number, because that legal description, we really need to know that lot number. It's just very important that that's in there. We don't need the comments, but it puts it in there. And then you'll see now it's got purchase information. It's got the list price, but that's not what they're offering, right? What you want is the offer price should be right here on this line for purchase price. So this is at $875. Let's say we're offering $850,000 with a deposit of $25,000. Okay. Whoops. The additional deposit would be the additional money. Again, we're just making this up. We're going to say $75,000. That gives me 100, and then the total financing would be 750 if I'm doing my math correctly, hopefully. Is that right? 750 plus 100 equals 850. Deposit there would be earnest money. I know you wouldn't normally put that down for earnest money. We're just pretending, folks. But then you can also write other stuff in here if you needed to, but otherwise you just go to the next screen. If you'll see up here, there are 5 steps we're going to go through. The expiration date, we don't know that. That's from your list date. But what date are we making the offer? If we're making the offer today, the calendar pops up. We're going to make the offer today, and it's going to expire on Wednesday. That's fine. We don't have the acceptance date because we're in the beginning process here. So we're just going to click next. And then it's going to ask for, it's going to provide me with the seller's name and with the listing agent name. Now I'm in here twice because I had this set up for my team, so it automatically put my name in both locations so they could delete the one they wanted, whether I was being listed on a listing first or on a buyer's side second, which is why it was in there that way. But we're going to get rid of one of me, and I actually don't know why there are 3 of my Realty One group. I don't know how a third one showed up there. And here we have, whoops, here we have the escrow company, and I actually have William's name, but actually I spelled it wrong. But we'll put Julia's name in here. I did that right? Quintano? Okay. So, dot, no dot.
Julia dot Quintana.
Yeah,
Quintana.
see, I spelled it wrong.
Quintana.
Okay.
Kevin Culver's. Julia dot Quintana at ROC.
Yeah. Okay, so you don't actually need that for the signatures, but I had it in here on my preset. So we're going to save that, so that will get corrected when we go to this. Now we're going to go to the next page, and you're going to see I have a preset of documents that are already in here. Okay, And by doing a template, I can actually have in that purchase contract certain things already in place, like that it's in Maricopa County, because most of my business is in Maricopa County. There are some other things that you can have in there. I'll show you that in just a second, but I want to go to the last page. We've talked about forms. What about those other documents, right?
Yep.
We have ABA, we have the pool disclosure, buyer advisory, lead-based paint. Not sure why lead-based paint is showing up here instead of on the other side. It should have been on.
It was in the document section of the MLS.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So again, when you pull this down from the MLS and you actually get in both the seller property disclosure and lead-based paint, because they provided them to us. So these are the ones that are already filled out. You know, when you're looking for those and you forget to go back to the MLS to pull it, if you use Transaction Desk, they auto pull for you. And here, look, yay, the listing agent actually did that. Do think it's very funny that they checked the box for us, but that's okay. I get it, but they're technically not supposed to do that in case you're waiving your opportunity, but this is actually signed correctly. And it's very nice to have that in there. Please, 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 as a buyer's agent, never, ever, ever, ever fill this out and fill in the second section for your buyers if you don't have the top section, because the very beginning of the second section says, buyer has read the information set forth above. I don't know how you read that information if it's not provided. So, and if you were ever audited, this comes with a fine of like $10,000 per error. So if your buyer does this and initials 3 times and you sign it, that's like $30,000. If they don't count your signature as well as another error that you signed. So it is not worth it. Please, please, please. If they do not provide it to you, check the box that says that they are to provide it to you within 5 days and move on. Do not ever, as a buyer's agent, send that on. Please, as a listing agent, load your lead-based paint into the MLS so they have access to it. Okay. And if you don't have it in there, have it on your phone so you are quickly able to send it to another agent and get it to them when they ask for it, because they're going to ask for it if they're going to write an offer. And I guess if you don't want an offer written on the property, that's fine. But if the idea is to sell the property, let's get the paperwork there. So this is really nice. They did actually also include the seller property disclosure statement. There are different takes on this. There are some people that believe you should submit this up front and have this out there. There are other people that say, don't do that. Now, the funny part about this is, what is the date of this document right up here? Somebody like to tell me what they're reading? And when was the seller property disclosure statement updated?
After that,
19?
February of 2023.
Oh,
This February, it was updated. And there are different brokerages that believe that if their seller has already filled this out, they do not need to update it. Now, AAR, just so all of you know, has very clearly stated when they issued that new document that it needed to be used and that listing agents needed to go back to their sellers and get it revised. Okay. Here's what I'm going to tell all of you. If during your inspection period, you receive a seller property disclosure that is dated 2017, you need to first go to the listing agent, ask for it to be revised. If they tell you it will not be, then what you need to do is deliver to your client the 2023 version so they can compare what information they did not receive. And guess what? If they'd like that information, then send over those in questions to the listing agent and say, we'd like the following answer.
kind of a bummer that we have to put it on our clients to do all that research.
Well, the problem is that they don't need to do the research. They just need to ask.
And compare and all that stuff, you know, we have to put it on our clients because they didn't fill out the
Correct.
newest version.
And the agents are saying they don't have to, which AAR has flat out said is not true.
Right.
But there are different brokerages that are saying, no, we don't need it. So my comment is, we're going to protect our clients. They can read the differences and go, you know what, this doesn't affect me. It's not going to matter in this property. The biggest section that has changed on that seller property disclosure statement. Let's close this and see if I can go. Let's see. Let's go back to here. It's not going to show on a buyer side. I don't want to lose where I am. I'll show you before we end. We'll get to that. So, but the biggest thing that has changed is the work that has been done on the property. There's a whole section that asks for permits, the licensee's contact information that did the work. What has changed though is a sentence that says that the seller knows if they were required to have permits pulled. So there's actually a protection for the seller, ironically, on the new spuds, if they sign the new spuds, because nowhere on the new spuds does it put the ownership of knowing whether or not it needed to be permitted on the seller. They removed that. So there is a benefit to the seller to pass it on to their contractors and not be the one liable for basically falsifying documents saying, no, was not required to have a permit. And I'm telling you I wasn't required to have a permit, and actually be wrong, because 90% of the time they're going to be wrong. How many of you knew in the city of Phoenix you need a permit to put a ceiling fan in? Oh, look at those eyes. Ceiling fan. The city of Phoenix is now added to. I don't read up on what the city of Phoenix building codes are. Who knew that they now made it a requirement that you pull a permit for a ceiling fan? I mean, how ridiculous for starters, but seriously.
I just had 3 replaced.
Did they pull a permit? No. And guess what? On the old spuds, on these old seller property
The same
disclosures.
exact place that the
Yeah,
other
so you
one went, it's just they're newer, but yeah,
Right, but
good though,
so,
but I fall under Phoenix Services, all my permitting and shit is.
so here's in the old version, I don't know if we can see it. Oh my gosh.
But it's more scary. It's like, well, what happened that made them put that in there?
Right. That's
Right?
what happened.
Though the ceiling fans, oh my gosh, the ceiling's fallen down because they didn't support the ceiling fan. I
Yeah.
know what caused that.
Oh, I would love to see the cases of what happened that they use as. proof.
Can you see that now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I do that one on there? Okay. So here is the old version, and it asks, no, I think it's in the renovations. Was that the renovation section? Sorry, folks at home, if I'm going too quickly. So are you aware of any violations of any of the following? And they didn't even check the box. So if I had received this, no matter what, our buyers should be asking, well, are you or are you not aware of that? Because you should have one of the two answered. Are you aware of any of the violations? Yes or no? And in what? So anytime there are yeses or nos, should be working on that. All right. But the focus of this is actually going to be to go to, we need to finish our wizard here. So we're going to hit done. And now I have these forms in this transaction for this thing. I don't think I added a buyer here. I think we forgot to add the buyer. So we are going to add a contact here because we kind of need a buyer here. So add, well, we'll create that new transaction, that guy that we created before. So then you have John Smith. John, we'll just do John Smith. Hopefully, actually, I probably shouldn't do that.
Did you know you bought a house today?
I'll do mine. Yeah, really. Sign
Yeah,
here.
emails the contract to the agent on the other side, they call you. Yeah, we accepted your offer.
Yeah, actually it would.
Great 50 with 25,000 down.
Okay. I don't know how much you're hearing online, so sorry about that. So you can put your client's information in here. It would be nice. It fills in the back of it, as you can imagine, but you can save this here. So what I want to do though is we at this point need to actually go in to the forms up here and actually go into the purchase contract down here. Whoops. And we do need to edit this. Now I have it preset. It's going to drop a lot of this information in here with my template and the information we pulled over. You can see John Smith dropped in the seller's information, the property information, including assessor number, all those numbers I created. I had this stuff preset that to be used for additional funds and first loan. That's preset already in my template. So then I just need, is earnest money going to be personal check, wire transfer, or other? We're just going to say a personal check. Then we need to add a close of escrow. I could have filled that in. I obviously missed that box just because things are so small here. But let's put closing. Let's not put closing on that date. So here's another tip for you folks. If you are closing a transaction, I do not ever recommend Fridays that are also the end of the quarter. So September would be end of the third quarter, correct?
Or
Yeah.
Friday before a long weekend.
Or Friday before a long weekend.
Right.
My
So
sanity.
I tend to do Wednesday or Thursday closings. That's my preference. I don't know about you, but even if it were Friday the 15th, what happens is if something goes awry, you automatically lose 2 days for your client if you can't get it closed that extra day. So let's just put in the 27th. And then possession is a close of escrow. We had the lead-based paint on this one, so we know that's included. And then of course we want to have a description. We just had a lawyer here who said, do not put as seen on. So please, if your client is interested in the property, get your phone out while you're walking through and take a photo of the serial number inside the refrigerator. Take a front photo at least of the washer and dryer, so you can say that they were LG front loading white washers and dryers, right? You don't necessarily have to have the serial number. Refrigerator, I would get the serial number. Any other personal property you can add there. Now you'll see that the type of financing, I do not have auto preset. I don't recommend that unless you're always working with conventional buyers or, but I would go in here and add this. If you're looking for seller concessions, that's where you'd put it. Appraisal, let's just click if we're doing anything like that. Then all of the title company information is coming up here. Phone numbers are not set right, but I'll get those reset in my template. So then lead-based paint was provided. Don't forget to check that box, because if you don't, compliance is going to send you back to do that. And I'm going to show you this. The reason I'm going to take this through to Authentisign is I want you to see what you have to get rid of, because both of these boxes will autofill and you need to remove the one that you don't want. Otherwise, you have to fix your contract. Now, my template, I have the word none in here automatically because typically I am taking my clients through properties. If not, I am doing a video tour with my clients, and therefore they're not relying on verbal representations. They are seeing the property one way or another. Inspection period, obviously you change that. I know I'm going through this very quickly, but you can see things that I had auto preset. If it's not a sewer system, we would need to change it. Nothing popped up for a septic system, so I'm assuming it is sewer, even though I'm not going back and looking at it. Home warranty, you would fill either 293 to 295, or you're going to click 296. In this case, I'm just moving along here quickly. Additional terms and conditions. please, please do not get creative with your wording here. If you do not know what you're writing, call me, text me. If there's something that you're wanting to add to the contract. Otherwise, use the additional clause addendum or take the language in the additional clause addendum and type it in here. If you did not want to add that additional document, you can do that. But remember, every comma, every period makes a difference in those paragraphs. So if you're going to copy it, proofread it very carefully that you got it exactly as it is written. Okay, we're asking for a response tomorrow. We should put a time here. Let's go ahead and put 8 p.m. My rule of thumb has always been 24 hours. Obviously, if you're going back and forth with somebody, you might shorten that time frame. Here's the thing. If you are given 48 or 72 hours and your client's like, oh, I'll wait a day, I'll wait 2 days. Just because you're given that time doesn't mean you're going to get that time, because if the seller gets another offer, the seller can always rescind their offer, as can the buyer. So be very careful when you are given a large block of time. Make sure you are on top of your client and don't take that time, because you never know when that rug could be pulled out from under you. And I think right now that could really be an issue. Also, remember, it is not done until it's delivered. I had somebody had their client sign and they forgot to deliver it to me. Cost the agent $9,000 and the buyers $9,000 because they did not get it back to me. And they actually had a highest and best clause. I got another offer, had to withdraw the counter that we'd sent out, which their client had already signed. $18,000, folks. Really, really make sure you deliver. That's why these programs are so important. So this is what we're going to do. This is fine. I'm going to save and exit this. I would normally go in here down to this go to forms so I can just see the forms here on my screen. And I would go here and rename these, just so you know. This is what I love to do. Make sure you do not have 17 files that say residential purchase contract. This should say PC. And it could be John Smith or J Smith. Usually the address 3732 East. Is it Desert Cove? I can't see it. Right? So that's how I'm going to rename every single one of these that I'm going to do. If it has to do with a property, I'm going to put the property address. Agency is just the individual. So I'm going to put J Smith so that I know that it's his agency, right? Buyer broker. I'm going to rename that, although I'm not doing that in this scenario, but I'm going to do buyer broker. In this case, that's J Smith, because that is not the property. It's just him as an individual. So market conditions advisory, this takes 2 seconds, guys. This does not take very long. Right? So I can go through and do these really, really quickly. HOA, there must not have been an HOA because we didn't get an HOA. So
On the forms that are importing,
Mhm.
I have had 3 in the last month where the listing agent filled out the
HOA.
HOA on the front page. Front page is missing stuff. But then they had
Yeah,
the
but it's-
seller sign the first page and the third page.
Nope.
So then the buyer's agent went ahead and filled in the stuff that the buyer wanted, and then they sent it over to me with the contract. And then later on, I realized, I'm like, well, wait a minute. And the seller's like, I didn't agree to that. And I'm like, I have an addendum that says that you accepted it. And then when I looked at the dates, it was that they accepted it before it had even been populated, because it was, so when you import the document, you're gonna want to take a look at it. I ended
So-
up sending it and having the seller initial, but we ended up doing an addendum because they did not agree to pay the capital fee and everything else, because the buyer's agent, I'm like, hey,
So that is a real quick way as a listing agent to end up paying some HOA fees. Because what
capital
happens
improvement
is,
fee.
again, it auto fills these signatures on both page 1 and page 3. So when you send that HOA addendum through, you have to remember to go in and remove the third page signature when you initially send it through. Because it is not supposed to go through until after it has been filled by the buyer for what they asked for. I also do have some listing agents that decide they're going to pre-fill transfer and capital improvement fees of who's going to pay them. Unless you're choosing your client, don't put that you're telling the other party something. That's not your place as the seller. You can put on your notes that that's what you're asking them to do, but you really should not be touching a legal document saying you're going to pay for these fees. That is up to the seller to counter. It is not up for the seller to demand up front. Again, you can put it in the MLS, but the contract's what stands. Okay. So, and I don't know how many people know that they added this the last time they revised this. Any additional fees not disclosed on page 1 and payable upon close of escrow shall be paid by. If I represent the buyer, I am always putting the seller on that. If they did not give me the information on page 1, it is up to the seller.
It is amazing how often I end up, it'll be the capital improvement fee they didn't have on the first page. There was I had one, it was $485 just last week on one of mine that closed. And the seller's like, why is this on my side? It's because it was marked on here, the capital improvement fee that the buyer would pay it, but the amount was blank on the first page. So the buyer agreed to pay $0. Because the first page had $0. It turned out on the demand, it's $485. So you're paying the $485.
Not disclosed on page 1,
Yeah.
payable by.
Just because you mark that capital box, if the front page has a 0 or is empty, you didn't disclose the fee.
And the buyers agreed to pay 0.
Yeah, the buyers agreed to pay 0. So the seller had to pay it.
Okay, so we're going to go out of that one, and now I'm going to show you how this works. So we know we want the purchase contract, we want agency. I'm not going to do the other disclosures here. We don't need HOA. So we are going to take this little bucket, right? And we are going to go to Authentisign with a pen there. And I'm going to jump ahead here real quick, just to show you. It's going to ask me for signers first, but I'm going to show you to add other documents. So remember, we had other documents in there. You can go back and grab them. It gives you all of them, both from forms and from the document page. So we can add page 13 of the buyer advisory. I recommend you do this this is a template I pulled up. I got page 13, not the full thing, because I always send my buyers the buyer advisory up front. If you add it here, trust me, your file size will be doubled. It is a huge document, and it is very large on the scale of how large that file is. So that's why I only include page 13. But we're not going to add the ABA here, but we are going to add the lead-based paint and the property disclosure. Okay, so all of those have now been added, so I can click close. We're going to go back up and make sure my seller is on here. So we're going to add from the transaction. I'm sorry, my buyer is on here. So we want the buyer, and then we want myself receiving a copy. And guess what? We want Mark receiving a copy as well. We are not going very far with this document, just so you know. It's being emailed to me anyway. So, but this is how you set that up, and you hit select those. And now I have everything ready to go. I go down to tools, and it's going to give me John Smith, and you will see that John Smith actually gets auto-populated here. That's why I wanted to do this. I'm going to close this for just a second. I wanted to show you here what happens with the lead-based paint. You have to go in and remove this second lead-based paint. There's a little trash can. You got to get rid of that. Okay. That's the same thing on the HOA document. It's the same thing later on the lead-based paint. So we're going to go through. Sorry, folks at home. I know I'm flying past this. I don't want to get you motion sick. Sorry. I know that's awful. Had somebody. So let me keep going. So the signature should be here. fun little things you can do, by the way, you can just click on this and make it larger. It makes it really easy on this program. And you can set those as your template for what you want. By the way, that is so funny that it did not auto-populate their information. All of that should have come over from them. I don't know why it didn't. Again, on my template, I have buyers checked there and seller checked there. If you don't have those, you need to know that. If you're doing a counter offer, you need to add a little checkbox there. Here's your agency. Agency will be auto-filled here. I had already had these preset in my template. Again, we can make it a larger signature box if we want to. Oh, and by the way, if you click on this, you can add a timestamp if you need a timestamp, and then you can move it wherever you need it. It comes pretty handy when you need both of those. So let me close this. Buyer, what is that? Buyer advisory. Now we're going to need to drop that down. So all we do is I'm holding down my mouse and adding that. Look, and we're going to be getting through one thing today. All right. So here's why I did this. So this does not autofill. Here you need to add initials of the buyer all over here. Then, oh, see, I'm not set up as a signer. Uh-oh. So here I need to be added as a signer now. And we will save that. So I am, nope, just to sign those signature blocks I don't want to be added as one of those. But now I can, whoops, see that. Go back to the tools. Oh, how funny, we have the same initials. That is very funny. I did not realize that. Okay. And I need to sign as this, and I need to flip this back to John and get John's signature down here, which I forgot to do. I'm moving that away just so you can see. And moving that over here. All right. And then you have to add all the signatures here. All right. I'm not going to keep going through here, but wow, this cut off. It's missing its pages. So that actually will not work. So you can go back into Docs, and we're going to have to actually delete. We're going to have to remove that file. So we would,
Populate. What did-
the document was not formatted to correctly. There was a big gap of like 2 inches at the top.
Was it the HOA doc?
No, it was the seller property disclosure.
Oh, it's fine.
So, all right. So I'm going to get rid of this, and then you go to next, and you can set up a little note to your client. Both of those people that are signing will get this note. Obviously this is going to my same email. And you would save this and then send it on. I'm not actually sending it on, folks, so don't worry. That was fun. That took us almost the entire hour. Sorry about that, but that is the fun of all this. But I'm going to jump over here in terms of AAR online, because the next one is risk management, the buyer and tenant advisory. We have access to the buyer advisory in our documents. We don't have access to our, we'll go this way, see if it'll go over there. It's not AAR. If you're looking for the tenant advisory, you go to risk management and you will see, whoops, you will see other advisories, and I could have scrolled down as well. They're down here. So if you're looking for your tenant advisory, it is here. And there is a lease owner's advisory. If you are helping a landlord rent their property out, please have the landlord fill out the lease owner advisory. There also is a landlord disclosure, like the seller property disclosure, that is in our documents, but these advisories are not in our regular documents. So this is where you would get them, is AAR online. And how about that? That was a lot of fun that we got through all of that in today. Let's see, if you go to SkySlope, I'm going to show you. So SkySlope Forms is very similar. For those that have not peeked at Breeze, I'm going to open this up really quickly because they've been adding forms to Breeze. A lot of them, actually. I do not recommend that lead-based paint be used through there. I do like using, oh, not really sure. We'll go with this. I have no idea what that is. So, here are the seller property disclosures. I do not recommend the lead-based paint because literally all you are doing is checking that 2 boxes for your landlord. And then it comes, you have to go grab it and then send it to your client for signature anyway. You're sending it to your client for signature. You can check that box with them. Quick little phone call. Do you have these documents? You don't have these documents. Great. I'm going to check this box. That way it'll be all ready for you when you sign. Okay. Because, and we're starting to see these seller property disclosure statements come through unsigned because they go grab them and think their client signed them. There's no signature in Breeze. You have to go grab the document, put it back into your system, and either take it through DigiSign, AuthentiSign, DocuSign, whatever your e-sign program is. Okay. They did put the HOA plan community addendum, says it's coming soon. So they are working on that. But they are looking to put more of these documents in there, which is interesting. So they do have some of these here. And the notice disclosure, this is to allow your client to write the notice and disclosure. I'm not sure you want that. So please don't do that. You write it for them and help them with that language. But Breeze is really beneficial on the seller property disclosure statement because they cannot skip anything. Anything they skip gets pushed for a question to you that you have to go back and talk to them. So remember that other document we had that was missing? You cannot on Breeze skip anything. Okay, so the benefit is we'll actually have fully completed seller property disclosure statements.
You know how the property disclosure is the one that didn't populate over correctly? I wonder if it was because it was out of age. Because it wasn't, it was the older version.
Because the
It'll
listing
normally.
agent scanned it incorrectly.
They scanned it
Oh,
in
okay.
incorrectly. Yeah. So I don't
So
know.
on this, they complete the document, but then you have to get it and send it to them for signature. Is that how
Yes.
it works?
Yes. Yes, and I had the pleasure of having the first person I sent the Breeze file to filled it out and accidentally checked the box that there was a drug lab on their property.
Oh.
And it was
A
active.
meth lab.
Yeah.
It was an active listing. Yes, it was an active listing and I had, yeah, and we went under contract and I sent it over. Actually, I caught it and had him fix it, but then I grabbed the wrong saved file
Sure.
and sent it over. And the agent called me and said, could we talk about this? And I'm like, oh, no.
Just our offer.
Yeah. No, we're gonna walk away. I said, no, that was an error in Breeze. I'll send you well, are you sure? I'm like, it was like a 75-year-old owner. It's like he did not have a meth lab there. Trust me. Yeah. So unfortunately. That's right. That's right. So you've got Breeze, and then of course you also have whoops, where'd it go? Why did my sky slope go away? So I keep opening more screens. You do have SkySlope Forms. Great system. When you do things in SkySlope Forms, all of the same things are there to create a file. You basically create a new file, you pull the forms over, okay? You're just using DigiSign instead of AuthentiSign. I just still am not clear if you can create a name and a different signature block. So if you have LLCs or trusts, I recommend you use Transaction Desk unless you can figure out how to make that work. Because otherwise your signature blocks are going to be wrong and you're going to be asked to revise your documents.
You can always, go ahead and do it through SkySlope and then put it on your desktop and then upload it to Transaction Desk to send it out for signature.
You
Yeah.
could do that.
Yeah.
But then it's still not, the benefit of SkySlope Forms is if it's in here and you get it signed, when they're signed, it automatically goes to your SkySlope. If you take it out to Transaction Desk, you then have to load it back up to SkySlope
Oh, okay.
documents. So, and I understand that, and I love that idea. And again, you can create templates here. It's awesome for that. I just need to figure out if there is a way to do a different signature block. Again, I've run into 3 of these in this last 2 weeks with agents, that they're signing documents incorrectly. And so please be aware of that. It has to be the name plus what their role is. And they should be telling you that, not you telling them. Typically it's trustee, but they may not be the trustee. They may be a personal representative. They may be the executor of the estate. There are different roles they could be taking in selling the property rather than trustee. Now, obviously, if it's the John Smith Trust dated and it's John Smith, he's probably the trustee. I get that. But what happens if it's Henry Smith, right? If it's the son of John Smith is now deceased, it's still the John Smith Trust, but who has the legal right to sell that property? And if you're taking that listing, you need to know whether or not they have the legal right. You can push it through for title, and title will go get those documents. They will ask for the trust. They have to know who's signing. So we do run through that, but you should be having that conversation with your clients.
Melissa, this is Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, we've got an
Hi.
attorney online.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I've been kind of silent over here. Oh, sorry. Now my dogs are barking. I haven't done the transaction desk stuff at all. Well, I haven't signed any of it, but I've been looking at Sky Slope. I want to make sure I understood that you are saying that you can't add the role of the person in the Sky Slope forms. Is that right? That's why you avoid it in
I'm
general,
not-
or just for certain transactions?
I'm not, oh, no, you can sign normally. I'm just not certain you can do a separate signature block that says comma trustee
Gotcha.
in Sky Slope. I need to research it. It's not I haven't used it very much. I worked with an agent the other day, had never used it, and helped her go through an entire offer, and we got the offer out. So I have done it. But I just am not that familiar with it. And I know that we're running into this problem, and I could not quickly find it when I came on here, but I will find that out. So.
That sounds good. Thank you very much. Yeah, want to make sure I didn't misunderstand.
No,
That you were
the
saying you had to use
program works-
transaction desk. Okay.
No, Sky Slope Forms works great. And
Okay.
again, when you go through a contract, when it gets signed, obviously if it's your side of it and it's the agency, it'll automatically go in the system. It'll go out to the other side, then come back to you. That won't be in your system. You still have to upload that because that's not still in your Sky Slope Forms system, right? Because it's gone away from you and coming back. It'll be in whatever system they've used to sign. So it doesn't come back to you that way.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, both online? You can unmic yourself, folks. I don't have your mics blocked, so. Anybody else? Thank you guys so much. I'm not getting very far, but since I'm seeing, eyes around the room going, okay, I learned something new today. I'm just kind of taking this step by step. We will continue this next week. And then I believe in September, the first week in September will be off. And then the second week in September will either be Rock Title or Epic speaking. And then the third week, I probably am going to be tackling either the listing contract or purchase contract for the end of September and all of October that I'll be presenting. So we'll try and really hash out those documents. And obviously that's part of what is on here anyway. And then I'll probably come back to some of this. A lot of these folks you can get tutorials on. Rock Title, Rock University has stuff, 1U has stuff on these different programs. I highly recommend looking at those and taking the time to do a deeper dive than what I was able to do today. Mostly I was trying to address issues I've seen as the broker on these files as they've come through. So thank you for joining me this morning. Have a great Monday. Have a great week. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You stop sharing my screen and see if I can. Look, we've got more people online. All right. Yes.
I just find on transaction desk and remember.
Mhm.
I did go through